A record number of young people are giving up on work. Nearly a third of people aged 18 to 24 are now classed as economically inactive, either still studying or dropping out of the labor market completely. In 2012, youth inactivity due to poor health was just 8%. Today, it's nearly a quarter. Poor mental health is the leading cause of this new wave of withdrawal. And the truth is painful. It's not just that Gen Z don't want to work. It's that many of them no longer see the point. But before you scroll away, listen carefully. If you've ever felt lost, unmotivated, or like the system is stacked against you, watch this video till the very end. Because if you're serious about change, if you want to take control of your story, what you'll hear here might just wake something inside you. The rise of the NEET generation. Right now, there's a growing group of young people who are not in work, education, or training, what economists call the NEET generation. But behind the cold label hides something deeply human, disillusionment. This generation doesn't just lack jobs. Many lack hope. Since 2019, there's been a 55% rise in the number of sick days across the UK. Employers complain that Gen Z workers are flaky, entitled, and lacking motivation. But let's pause for a second. Every generation in history has been called lazy by the one before it. Even Socrates in ancient Greece complained that youth were greedy, disrespectful, and rebellious. Maybe the question isn't, what's wrong with Gen Z? Maybe it's, what's wrong with the world they've inherited? A different kind of ambition. There's definitely a growing wave of disengagement, young workers who feel disconnected from what they do. But this isn't about laziness. It's about a shift in values. Many Gen Zs grew up watching people make a living online. YouTubers, streamers, creators, coders. They've seen that there's another way to live, a way that doesn't involve slaving for a company that doesn't care about them. They don't just want a paycheck. They want purpose. In the past, the path was simple. Get a degree, land a stable job, and climb the ladder. But now the ladder is broken. Jobs are unstable, wages are low, and the cost of living is crushing. So why climb at all? I get it. I once worked 45 hours a week as a teacher. I liked it, but I felt trapped. I wanted more time, more freedom, more meaning. So I quit and started from scratch. Was it risky? Absolutely. But for the first time, I felt alive. And that's the hidden truth. Many young people today aren't quitting because they don't care. They're quitting because they care too much about how their one life is spent. Freedom or failure. This new mindset, saying no to overwork, refusing to reply to work emails after hours, prioritizing mental health, could be one of the healthiest cultural shifts we've seen in decades. But there's a dark side, because the freedom to say no can easily slide into the freedom to do nothing. COVID amplified this. People realized they could work from home, or not at all. The rhythm of normal life broke. Fewer people are having children, fewer are buying homes, and more are moving back in with their parents. A decade ago, 45% of young women who were inactive were raising kids. Today, that's just 22%. The rest, many are stuck, not lazy, but lost. The weight of an unfair world. Let's be honest, this generation is trying to survive in an economic world that feels rigged. Rent has exploded. In big cities, housing eats up 40 to 50% of income. Jobs are insecure, contracts are temporary, and even entry-level roles demand years of experience. Some young people turn down jobs because they literally can't afford to start. Can't afford the commute, the rent near the office, even the work clothes. Meanwhile, 80% of inactive youth have no qualifications above GCSE level. Yet 34% say they can't afford to study further. The system punishes them for being unqualified, then traps them by making education unaffordable. This isn't just a work crisis, it's a purpose crisis. The mental health explosion. Here's the most alarming part. In 2017, just 10% of young people were diagnosed with a mental disorder. By 2022, that number had jumped to 26%. That's more than 1 in 4. 2/3 of experts blame social media. The endless comparison, judgment, and highlight reels erode self-worth like acid on stone. But young people themselves point to something deeper, a sense of hopelessness. The cost of living is insane. Real wages are stagnant. Home ownership feels like a fairy tale. Many graduate with £45,000 in debt only to realize they'd need the same amount just for a house deposit. It's like running a race where the finish line keeps moving. The truth about flaky workers' employers love to complain that Gen Z workers call in sick too often. And sure, since COVID, there's been a 55% rise in sick days. But let's look at the bigger picture. Is this really about laziness, or is it about burnout, chronic stress, and a generation trying to protect their sanity? During COVID, people learned to value their time differently. Working from home showed us that life doesn't have to revolve around commuting and fake productivity. Once you've had that taste of balance, it's hard to go back. I know people who dread hiring students because of unreliability, but maybe that's not unreliability. Maybe it's rebellion against a system that demands everything and gives nothing back. Work, worth, and meaning. The World Health Organization once reported that nearly 750,000 people die every year from overwork-related illnesses. Heart attacks, strokes, exhaustion. So when Gen Z says, "I'm not dying for a job that pays me nothing," maybe they have a point. The old idea of working 60 hours a week just to look dedicated isn't ambition. It's madness. A younger generation sees through it. They want balance, authenticity, impact. But here's the catch. Meaning doesn't come from avoiding work. It comes from finding the right kind of work, the kind that aligns with who you are. If you can't find it in the corporate world, build it yourself. Start small. Create. Learn. Take risks. The world doesn't owe you fulfillment, but it does offer you opportunity if you're bold enough to grab it. So what's really going on? There's no single reason why so many young people are giving up on work. It's a storm. Mental health struggles, unaffordable education, toxic job markets, social media pressure, and the collapse of trust in the system. But beneath all that chaos lies something powerful, a hunger for change. Because what looks like apathy is often just exhaustion from pretending everything's fine. And what looks like laziness is often the quiet protest of a generation that refuses to keep living like machines. The turning point. If you're still watching this, it means something inside you refuses to give up. And that's the start. Because change doesn't come from waiting for a better system. It comes from building one. It comes from healing your mind, learning new skills, and refusing to be defined by statistics. The truth is, your generation has more tools, more knowledge, and more potential than any before it. But you've got to use them, so don't let the world convince you you're lazy. You're not. You're awake. Now it's time to turn that awareness into action, because your story isn't meant to be one of defeat. It's meant to be the story of how you rose anyway.